Hello.
Maria DeAndrea.
Hi, how are you doing?
Man, if I was doing any better, they should charge me with a crime for being so happy.
Right there with you. I figured we're going to have fun.
Well, that's
I love your sense of humor.
we have to, and that's the thing. If you're happy and you're having fun, chances are you're doing something illegal anyway. So why not?
All right. Well, listen, we've got to be careful because I don't have bail money yet.
Okay. All righty. Well, Maria, welcome to the Edge Television broadcast. It's your first time here, and being a first-time guest, I'm going to ask you kind of introduce yourself to our guests. I mean, our guests, not our guests, to our audience. Tell us who you are and what you're all about.
Okay. Okay, so my name is Reverend Maria DeAndrea, and I do a multitude of things. So I do psychic readings. I'm a parapsychologist. Just means we play with the paranormal, and it's the oldest science on the planet. So, we consciously work with it. I'm a published author. I'm a shaman. I'm an interfaith minister. I do a lot of media work. Pretty much everything else in the field.
Okay. Well, I'm sure right now we got people running for the hills. But that's okay. Man.
The shortcut version is I do everything spiritual, psychic, and metaphysical because I'm a public speaker on the subject, and I'll travel to do that. As long as it's not astrology, not because astrology isn't a wonderful field, but it's kind of like the universe skipped me on patience. I don't have the patience to do that one.
All right. Well, tell you what, Maria, what's your description of metaphysical? What is that?
Okay. Well, it doesn't matter if you call it metaphysics or parapsychology or paranormal or supernatural. It's really all the same thing. So what that really means is that for some people that they think that supernatural means out of the norm and nobody can ever do it. However, supernatural just means anything other than our five senses. And we're always doing things that are supernatural. People just don't connect it to that particular word and metaphysics, just synonyms. And as an example, when you think of creating something and you really, really focus mentally on it, and sometimes everybody's had this where they go, oh, it actually came in. Okay. What they did was they consciously or subconsciously, depending on the situation, created it. And again, we all use this all the time. So as an example, when you're thinking of anything other than the five senses, when you think of people as an example that use a hearing aid or that use eyeglasses, okay, it's out of their norm. They're using an extra tool out of their norm
Okay.
to heighten their abilities in some form or another. The difference is we consciously use understanding the laws of nature to create positive things because we only do positive, or to banish negative things in a positive way.
Well, I'm all about banishing the negative. So I don't know where it is, but I'm going to banish the thing. Hey, but I saw this pop up in our live chat. It says, so what is the opposite of paranormal?
Normal?
Okay, that was
Well,
an easy. Okay.
basically, no, paranormal, like I said, it's really the oldest science. When you think of magic, it really is a science. People just don't view it in that way. As an example, chemistry came out of alchemy, and anybody that's a professional chemist will tell you that. Physics came out of paranormal or metaphysics. So it just means it's a very ancient science. So as an example, just like science today, if you find a formula or you come up with one and you repeat it 20 different times and you always get the same outcome, you're going to keep repeating it. It's a formula. If you try something and it doesn't work, I personally don't see the reason to tell anybody.
Well, okay. Well, that's good. That'll always keep you in a good light that way.
Yeah,
So
right? Well,
when you talk about the laws of nature, now you look at the United States laws, or anybody that makes laws. There's a group of representatives. They get together and they decide what the law is going to be. So who is it that is making these laws?
well, we look at it as divine power. So, depending on your outlook, spiritually or religion wise, you can look at it as God. You can look at it as Mother Earth, Father Sky, whatever your concept of is of that one source. So, we tend to look at it as divine power.
Yeah.
So, we
Well,
look at but there are definite laws.
Okay, but
As example, we have the law of karma. Whatever you put out comes back, and that pretty much goes with every belief system. Good, bad, or indifferent.
well, I mean, if you look at the Bible says, "Forgive. If you don't forgive, then you shall not be forgiven." Would that be one of those laws?
Exactly.
Oh, okay, I see how that
Whatever
goes.
you put out comes back.
That definitely sounds that way. All right. So, and then now when you talk about banishing the negative, how does that go about?
Okay, let me see. Okay, here's an example because I work with clients. I do readings,
Okay.
so I work with clients. And as an example, I had this wonderful gentleman, very smart. He was working for a company in management, and he wanted to move up the ladder. And part of the reason he wanted to move up is the gentleman that was his boss really didn't know that much, and he was really obnoxious. I couldn't think of a nice synonym.
Okay.
So everybody in the office had a hard time with this person. So they really wanted him to move out, and this guy really wanted his job, but in a positive way.
Okay.
So when you work in a positive way, the way you banish the situation is you focus on what would be better for the other person. So in the long run, what happened was this gentleman that was the boss
Okay.
had an offer to move to a different job, better pay, better hours, and he decided to take it. Now, free will means he could decide not to, and then eventually some other positive situation would come up that he would be happier with than where he was. So everybody was happy. He moved to a better place, a better position, and my client moved to the job he wanted, but again, in a positive way.
So, are you saying then that some negative things end up to be they're part of life and they help you move into the positive?
Well, you do have those situations because we're human. So we do have negative situations around us. And sometimes we can move it in a positive way so it's better for everybody. And sometimes we can't. So sometimes we just have to know when to leave things alone.
Okay. I have a question for you here from Peter from Australia. It says, what does one of your mottos, "I go direct," unquote, refer to?
Oh, well, we deal with all sorts of formulas and all sorts of avenues to get to the point that we want, whether you call it spells or formula or techniques or focusing. The reason I go direct is because we look at it as there's one source. We don't care what you call it. We don't care what path you take to get there, as long as you get to the positive source. Okay? So instead of doing 8 million things to try to figure out how to come about to the situation that you want, a lot of times the best way to do it is just to go direct and go to your source.
Now,
Shortcut.
so now where's the source at?
Divine power, or God, or Mother Earth, Father Sky, whatever you believe in.
Oh, so is it whatever? What if I believe in rocks?
Listen, whatever you believe in is going to work for you because it's the same energy. It's just a label for it.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go to this question here. It says, this is from Teflon Code out of live chat. Did Joseph divine for the king of Egypt?
We look at a lot of things in the Bible, by the way, as divining
Okay.
or prophecy. Nowadays, we use the word psychic or intuitive.
Okay.
And a lot of times when you look at the Bible, people are always saying how, psychic information might be negative or coming from a negative source. But if you look at the Bible, divination and prophecy is everywhere. They just use the word divination and prophecy instead of psychic. Very positive.
Okay, I can see that. Dreamwalker out of live chat asks this question: where did the source come from?
Well, if we knew, we would probably be doing a lot better.
Well, maybe you should tap
Honestly,
into your
we
source
really
and ask
don't
him.
know. So I really, we don't want to give you an answer that's not real. We never really know.
So
I
source.
mean, I'm sorry, but people have different variations of where they believe the source came from. But you can't really argue about it because we don't actually know.
So when you say it's whatever you believe, there does seem to be some kind of power in the spoken word, and as people say things, I mean, you mentioned the Bible there. Well, it says, if you say into this mountain, it shall be removed, and it is. So it does seem to be some creative power in our words. So what is it? What is the force of our words that actually change things? What kind of power is that?
Well, a lot of it that we really think of is energy. Okay, everything is energy in some form or another. So what we're doing is we're creating energy by our thoughts. And by the way, I work with some scientists, and they actually did some tests where they can show that when you're really, really focused on something and you're putting out the word, whether it's in thought or verbal, and normally, by the way, verbal works a little bit quicker because it's the vibrational effect. It's like a magnet. So when you're really focused, eventually it comes in. And we can see that in our everyday lives in little things, such as a friend as an example. We've all had a friend that goes, "Oh, I always have a headache." And then we wonder why they're surprised when they actually get one, right? So they've been putting out, "I always have a headache." Eventually it's going to come in. That's what they're looking for.
Well,
or in a positive way.
Yeah, there is that other creative part where biblically it says, "So as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." So therefore, yeah, just what you said. As far so somebody believes they have a headache, then I guess they're sort of calling that into effect. Well, so when it says, and you mentioned say the action of praying for somebody or meditating, however you want to say it. When the Bible says pray for each other that you both may be healed, does it always have to be verbal? Because you said we were talking about words. What about thoughts? Do they have the same creative power as words, or do they have to be? Oh,
exactly. No, it's the exact same thing. When you really think of it, we really think in pictures more than literally words. But so when you're putting out the picture in your mind, or you're thinking of the word, or you're verbally saying it, it creates the same type of energy. Mm-hmm. I like to look at it as a little bit stronger when you're saying it verbally, because the vibration effect of sound creates a little bit of stronger vibration, but the outcome is going to be the same. So it's a matter of where you focus. And we really do think more in pictures and then the words. Mm-hmm. Because if you're saying as an example to somebody, that saying about not thinking about pink elephants, mm-hmm. you're going to see the pink elephant. You're not going to mentally see the word spelled out as pink elephant. Mm-hmm. So we think in picture first and then the word.
Yeah, and somebody just put that in our live chat. It was Proverbs 23:7. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. So therefore, what you're saying then, I mean, it didn't say as he saith in his heart, or saith as he thinketh. So, and I never really thought about that. So I guess we need to kind of watch our thoughts there. Maybe the universe is kind of listening in there. But how do we know, Maria, that the thoughts that we do have are our own?
Well, there's a difference. If you're thinking of something instantly, as an example, say you're thinking you're going to go to the store and you have a reason, okay? There's a reason to think that because it's logical, you decided, you can move on it. If you're thinking about something instantly as opposed to planning, okay, sometimes it's yours, sometimes it's not. And this is how you can tell the difference. And by the way, it's the way to look at it psychically also, because I truly believe everybody's intuitive psychic on some level. And the way you look at the difference is, say you have an instant thought. Let me put it this way. So you have somebody walking towards you that you've never met. And as they're walking towards you, you go, I really don't like the person that much because I don't like what they're wearing. I don't like their body language. They're frowning. Okay. That's the norm. That is your thought.
Okay.
Now, say the same person is walking towards you.
Okay.
And before you consciously think of you don't like that they look mean or whatever, if your instant thought is, I like the person or I don't like the person, that's intuitive. That is not your thought. Okay, that's you tuning in to the energies of the universe. We all have that.
Well, let me clarify. I'm trying to pay attention to that. Now, let me hear this again. You're saying if our original thought is that we say, I don't like what they're wearing.
If you thought about it.
If you thought about it. So you're thinking about it as they're approaching, as you're approaching them, right? Is that right?
Right.
All right. So that's your thought. Is that right?
Exactly.
Okay. So if somebody is a thought from somewhere else, if what?
If it's instant and there's no logic behind it. So if somebody's coming towards you and you instantly think, oh, I don't like the person or I like the person, and there was no reason for it, If it's instant, then it's really not your thought. And we've all had that.
Okay. All right.
Hmm?
Well, then, who's putting that thought in there, Maria?
You're
Or where?
actually tuning into the consciousness of the universe. We look at it sometimes as the Akashic records. Okay. Sometimes we look at it as a warning system. It's usually a warning system or something positive. So if you're looking at somebody and you get an off feeling, we've all had that where we meet somebody and something feels a little bit off, or they're saying something and what they're saying feels a little bit off. Okay. It's a warning system where you're tuning in subconsciously and the universe is basically saying to you, you have to be a little bit careful here. So you could be an acquaintance, not a friend. In business dealings, you have to watch your back a little bit more, or the other way around. So it may be somebody that's cranky and nobody likes the person and you get a good feeling. What you're feeling is heart to heart, how the person really is. Okay? And then you can decide if you want to deal with the situation or the person or not. Or, sometimes you'll notice that you can have a wonderful, wonderful friend with a really stupid idea.
Okay.
So the idea will feel off, but the person won't.
Okay. What is heart to heart?
It means you're seeing what the person's basic personality really is instead of what they want society to see. So as an example, if you're looking at a commercial on TV, okay, you're seeing what they want you to see. You're not seeing what the product actually is necessarily. Same thing with people. Sometimes they show you a friendly face because it's part of their job. Okay. It doesn't mean they're actually that friendly. It could just be a job situation where on their job they need to be.
This reminded me, we've had a guest on this program several times. I think she got her start here on the show. Her name's Natalina, and she's on, she has her own program, and she's a Facebook friend too. And I wrote something in Facebook, and she wrote back. It was a edgy kind of sarcastic thing that I kind of do, kind of funny, sarcastic, and people know. But anyway, she said, and I thought I had to apologize for that. And then later, and she wrote back that said, no need, because I can see the quality of your heart from 500 miles away. And she could see it even through that. So I guess that would have been a heart to heart there. Is that?
Oh, exactly. Because she's picking up the feeling directly instead of analyzing it to death.
Okay. All right. And I'm not, I only use that for an example. And I'm not saying anything, there's nothing going on there. I'm
right,
just saying
of course.
It's just people. All right. Now here's another one. It says, from Tony in Louisiana. It says, before I closed 2 portholes in my bedroom, I had an evil spirit come out of them. Was there any good that those portals may have had?
Yes. And the way it works is when you're using a portal, you're technically opening a doorway. Okay. So as an example, say you're doing something where you're calling in a positive spirit or a positive entity to help you, and you're opening a portal or a doorway to have them come. We always use some form of psychic self-defense first, some form of protection. And the reason is, even if the portal is bringing in somebody positive that you asked for, there are hitchhikers. You have an open doorway, an open portal. So if you have something negative come through that portal, it doesn't mean that everything on the other side of that particular portal is negative.
Okay. So do we want to leave that portal open? I'm not sure.
No, definitely not. No, because, it's like that 50-50 system.
Yeah.
We don't really want that.
Yeah, well.
So any portal, no matter what it is, positive, negative, we either try to stay away from it, or if it's in the situation, as you said, we try to close it as quickly as possible.
Well, now really, politically speaking, that's kind of what I've heard them say about immigration from countries that are known to sponsor terrorists. They say, you'll get a lot of good people, but how many of the ones that want to kill you do you want to invite in? And I don't know. I don't think it's 50-50, but man, I don't think I want any myself. I got a lot of living to do. And there's a country song that says, I got a lot of living left to do. I'm going to start singing. Here we go.
Oh, I like the country songs.
Okay. All righty. And here's a question from Joe Brand. He wants to know, do you believe the book, The Secret, is the truth?
Honestly, I've never read the book.
Oh,
Now, the reason I never read the book,
all
and
right.
I'm sure it's wonderful, the reason that I've never read the book is I've been doing this all my life, and I've been teaching it since I'm 16.
Okay.
So um, I do read other people's material. It doesn't mean I don't read because, there's always some knowledge that somebody else has
Mm-hmm.
that you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. However, I didn't read that particular one. However, everything that I've heard about it sounds like it's positive because it sounds like a positive way to manifest or to create things into your life.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I can't make too much of a comment on it. I haven't read that one.
Mm-hmm. All right. Here's a question. It says from Michael. It says, "Can we do anything to get more in tuned with this skill?"
Definitely. There's a number of things. So one of the things is we do meditate. Okay. And the reason is we need that quiet time to go within ourselves to touch base with, a universal force. And there are also some exercises that people aren't aware of. So as an example, if you're trying to tune in more to hearing, clairaudiently, what you want to do is really, in the physical world, try to listen to more sounds. Try to listen to the minute sounds that are around you. And you want to keep asking for that ability because you're actually asking, again, whatever you believe in as your source. I happen to believe in God, but whatever the name of your source is. And if you keep asking for that ability in a positive way, because we don't want to be harmed and we don't want to accidentally harm somebody else, eventually it comes in. Same thing with clairvoyance. You want to ask to see things clearly on the physical and the non-physical planes. So you're asking for that information to come in. But meditating is a big part of it because you're tuning in to your higher self and to your connection. Also, what I find is when you're meditating or when you're just focusing on heightening that ability or bringing in a new ability, try to have something blue around you because the color blue is the link between man and spirit. It's like an umbilical cord between the two realities. So when you're tuning into blue, or if you're wearing blue, or if you're meditating with something blue around you, it gives you a little bit of a jump, kind of like a battery charger.
Interesting. You said blue. The only other thing I can tell you about the color blue that I actually learned during the political season is it is known that if a person with Parkinson's disease puts on blue glasses, similar to what Hillary Clinton was wearing one day, but there was an actual demonstration of a guy his body was all fidgety and out of control, and the doctor handed him blue glasses, and he got up and he walked around. So maybe there's something to the color blue that's maybe even at a healing level. And I notice people over time on this program have talked about colors. They talk about, like an orange glow or a white light.
Right.
And certainly when people have near-death experiences or sort of pass on, they're always talking about a white light. I never hear them talk about any other color. Why is that?
I would think because white has everything in it and it's the positive energy of the universe. So you tend to see that first. Doesn't mean that that's the only color you see. I have clients when I do readings and teach classes and speak that have seen different colors, but they tend to see the white first, and then they'll see, as an example, a very thin layer of blue around it, or violet. It seems to be purple. It seems to be those colors come up more. And a lot of it is the energy of the field. Like when you're seeing material things as an example, and you're seeing the aura, the energy field of the vibrational level, you usually see a little layer of blue in inanimate objects. With people in the auric field, you see different colors, but you shouldn't really read off that. And the reason is you're seeing what's going with them at this second. So if their mood is very happy, as an example, you'll see different shades of yellow. 2 seconds later, something upset them, the color will change. So it's not like you can do a long-term reading on that. You can see, as an example, if somebody's body has a health issue because the energy around them in that one spot or the 2 spots is going to be more of a gray or a dark, or it'll indent a little bit. So you can actually see the aura indent a little bit or come out a little bit. So the energetic field is very dominant, and then you see different colors.
All right. So, do you see colors other than that anybody else in the room would see? Do you see colors differently than they would?
Normally, no. If I'm doing something psychic or I'm having an out of body experience, because when we go out of body, then it's different. Out of body, I've seen colors where I truly can't explain it. And it's not that I don't want to, which sometimes people assume. It's that I can't find a word for it because we don't have that color. So there's no expression that can really justify it. You can always say that, it gives you a really intense feeling of joy or happiness, but you can't really describe the colors. But I do see different things. When I'm looking at something physically, I've never seen those colors.
Well, I am sort of into color as far as that goes. I think it's a term that I've heard used called feng shui. It's, I like color. I like the color of life.
Right.
And so in my house, I have a lavender, washer and dryer room, utility room, and I have a yellow kitchen, and I have a green room. I have a bright orange room. I have a blue room. So I just decided that I would just have colors all through the house, and I feel like, and when you go into a different area of the house, it's like you're going into a different place.
Exactly, because you're really going to relate to the color, whether it's conscious or subconscious. I find sometimes people that are sensitive to colors, it's like people into fashion or artists or musicians or just somebody that has a feel for that. If they went to, say, a party, okay, and they go into the room and the walls are colors that trigger something where they don't like the color, they're going to feel uncomfortable and they may not know why. Or when colors clash, every now and then you'll see somebody that has gorgeous, gorgeous clothes on, but nothing matches. Well, and some people look and go, that's nice. And then some people go, they're not comfortable around it and they don't know why. It's not the person. Sometimes it's the color.
Well, in the Bible, there's a specific story of colors. I think it was somebody named Joseph had a coat of many colors, and I may have to go back and research that now that we're discussing colors. And I'm just thinking that you could say Daniel has a house of many colors. So whatever that effect that he was getting with that coat, I got it in my own house. All right, moving on then. We were talking before the show a little bit about a couple of the books that you've written, and we kind of narrowed it down to two. And I want to talk about this one here. Let me scroll up there so I can talk about it. Yeah, Travel the Waves of Time, Contacting Beneficial Beings. Maria, what is that?
Okay. That's really out-of-body travel. Okay. What that means is sometimes consciously, sometimes subconsciously, you're separating your spiritual self from your physical body so we can go to different realms. We can see different things. It's a different vibrational level. So when we're looking at different realms, a lot of times people look at it as we're on this physical planet, and then you go to different vibrational realms where it's one stacked on top of the other. And it really isn't so. Usually it overlaps our planet. It does have situations where it's at a distance, but it's not always layered. What happens is different realms vibrate at different frequencies. So when you're vibrating at a different frequency, it just doesn't match ours. So just because it isn't visible doesn't mean it's not there. The same thing with sound. Like, how they always say that dogs hear sounds that we don't. It doesn't mean the sound wasn't there because they react to it. And everybody has out-of-body experiences when they're asleep. Whether they remember it or not is different. But everybody has that. It's a natural ability. The difference is we do it consciously so that we can go to different places. And I find that it's very different than what people say, depending on the person's experience.
There's a biblical text where Paul in the Bible is saying, he's whether I was in the body or whether I was not, I could not tell. It sounds to me like he was having an outer body experience. But
definitely.
But the whole concept of, you mentioned a while ago about clairvoyance, and we're talking about out of body experience. Certainly, I've had so many dreams about flying. I couldn't tell you how many of those I've had. And I know I've discussed this in the show before. And in that case, people in the live chat just watching the program, they say they've had flying things like that. But the idea that you can have these events, these type of dreams, or that you can have, if we let's just say for argument's sake that there is outer body experience, and obviously some people watch the show say that's ridiculous, right? And there's some say this, somebody say, well, prove it, and others are saying yes, I've had it. So I know that we're talking to all of them. That's the nature of this show. We try to not just isolate one corner of belief. We want everyone to come together and explore what's out there for others. But anyway, right. The fact that we can have these, doesn't that mean they were built into us or given to us in one way or another?
I definitely think so, because part of it is when we're out of body, especially in a dream state, okay, it's giving us information. So out of body, we can see different things, like the flying, we can see different things, but it also gives us information, because when we're out of body, we're tuned in more to direct information, intuitive information as an example. And we always look at it as we really are masters of time. Mm-hmm. So when you're time traveling, even if you look back as an example in ancient times. So as an example, if you look at the Norse gods, they have Tiwaz, which was the sky god, okay, which deals with time travel. They have Kronos, again, that's a time traveling situation. It's the gods of time, mm-hmm. okay. Or, they actually have the angel of time. Mm. So it comes out the same way. It's just different names for the same type of entity. Mm. Or, I'm from Hungary, so we have Isten, which is really the god. And then you have gods, mm-hmm. goddesses underneath. But that would be like divine power or God.
Maria, are you a legal immigrant?
Me, yes. Me, heck yes. Well, I've been here most of my life.
Well, I'm not hearing any dialect there. Where's the accent?
No, I've been here most of my life. I've gone back and forth because I've studied there, on the shamanic level. Mm. Yeah. Because a lot of the shamanism gets passed down. Yeah. But I've been here most of my life.
Oh, yeah. How you like it? How you like it?
I love it. Listen, no matter what happens, this is the best country on the planet because we can do more.
Yeah, we certainly can. And one of the underlying tenets of this show is to spread love, joy, and harmony.
Mm-hmm. So that's wonderful.
Any way we can. So, and I think sometimes if we can get people just to listen to each other, that's the big step forward because there's so much shouting and anger. And I was talking to one guest, and if you look at our website and looked at our guest list, there's no way you could determine exactly what kind of show this is. And that's exactly the way I want it. And it scares some guests are scared. They don't know what to think,
But it's nice because it's very versatile and eclectic. So anybody listening to your show is going to look at it as, well, I'm interested in this part, not that part, this guest, not that guest. So you basically cover everybody. I think that's wonderful.
Right. So we try to get to see from other people's experience, if there's something that they know or that would help somebody in their own personal experience. And when it comes to, say the outer body experience, I think it's maybe even scientifically provable now that people who have near-death experience who say they rise out of their body and they go up to the upper corner of the hospital room and they look down and they tell what the nurses are wearing, even though they were in a coma and their eyes shut, when they come mm-hmm. back to life, they say, well, you were I heard you and I heard you and I saw you wearing this and that. Well, how else could they have known that?
Oh, I agree with you. And I find culturally, if you look back, way back before the airplane, before all this easy travel, a lot of those experiences that you were speaking about would pop up the same way in different cultures. And at that time, they weren't speaking to each other. They weren't comparing notes. So I look at it, even somebody that doesn't believe in out of body, whatever you look at it as scientifically or any other way, there's still something to it because the stories basically match, even if the details don't. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. We have this question for you. I believe this is out of the live chat as well. It says, every time I feel like I'm about to have an outer body experience, I go into a paralysis state. Is something holding me or preventing me from doing this travel? And by the way, I'm not telling people to do anything that we're talking about. I'm just discussing that it may be happening. And so I want to know about it. So what do you think about that, Maria?
Sometimes people have that experience, not because anything is holding them back or anything is slowing them down, especially outside of themselves. What happens is your body goes into that state sometimes before you separate out of it. Okay, because technically you're leaving your physical body in that one spot. So if you relax and you're not panicking and you're not going, oh, there's something wrong, there's something wrong. If you just relax when that happens, you'll get past that state and then you'll really be able to lift quicker out of your physical body. Everybody does not have that experience of feeling paralyzed. Okay. Mm-hmm. But when you do, it's just a matter of saying, okay, I'm safe. And I always say this, so I know I repeat this, but I always say, you really need to learn some form of psychic self-defense before you do anything psychic or paranormal. And it can be as simple as saying, Lord, protect me. Okay. Mm-hmm. But you have to do something that gives you some level of safety. Oh. You know, so it doesn't matter if you learn from me, the library, or friend. It should be something, though, that protects you so that when you're going out of body, especially, the difference when you're protected is that you're always safe. So say you're going out of body and you see wonderful positive things. It's great. Okay. But if you see, say, a negative entity or something negative, you're still protected. It doesn't mean you won't see it. The difference is it can't affect you or harm you. We still need to know what's out there.
But so it sounds like you're saying there's a bit of danger out there.
Yes, there is.
But then are you also saying that the bit of danger is worth the positive that could be a result of that? I mean, okay. Why it goes back to the 50-50 thing about 50% good, 50% evil. Man, is it
right.
Is it worth it?
Well, if you're going to do out of body travel, it's definitely worth it as long as you're safe. Mm-hmm. Because you're going to experience things that you really won't experience on the physical plane. Mm. And it gives you a different perspective. Mm-hmm. So as an example, when I read books, and of course I read books, we always have a thirst for knowledge. And when I read books and somebody's out of body, they're always saying how they're seeing the planets as an example, and they're flying through in between the planets. Now, I had the opposite experience. I was out of body, and it felt like I was standing, although there's nothing around you, but it felt like I was standing in one spot, and the planets were moving. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it depends on what's going on with you. It doesn't mean that happens the same way for everybody. Okay. But there are variations.
Okay. Just a little housekeeping here. When you go out of body experiences or have one, are you wearing clothes?
It's a preference.
Really?
Just saying.
So you can go flying out there naked?
It depends on how comfortable you feel. Most people, when they go out of body, automatically see themselves in clothes.
Okay.
Automatically. But again, if you were, say, a naturalist, you probably wouldn't. Preference.
Okay, so as you are on Earth is how you be flying around.
Yes.
Oh, alrighty. And let's get to this question here. It says, this is from Dreamwalker. Ask the question to Maria. What is the most profound spiritual experience that you've ever had?
Okay. When I first started, and it was an out-of-body experience, when I first started going out of body, the first time that happened to me, I was in my teens, and I wasn't planning to go anywhere. I was working psychically really heavily, consistently, and metaphysically. So I was in that space so long and so often that it just happened to me. And I was out of body, and at a distance, I saw, for lack of a better word, a procession that looked like monks because they had the cloak with the hood over them. Yeah. And that's all I saw. There was nothing around them, just space. And it was a comfortable feeling, and they were walking from right to left. I don't know why the direction, but it stuck with me. Right to left. So I really wanted to see who they were. So as soon as you think of a place mentally, when you're out of body, it's instantaneous that you're there normally. So I was thinking about, I wanted to get closer. So I got a little closer, and I got a really strong sense of danger. And the sense I had was that I shouldn't get closer. Okay. I was okay, but I shouldn't get closer. Now, being that I've been doing psychic things and, everything related all my life, all that meant to me was, now I really want to see. Mm-hmm. Apparently I don't do well with warnings. So I'm focused on, no, I really, really want to get closer. So I got a little bit closer. Okay. And the warning came a lot stronger. And all of a sudden, the experience I had was I didn't know who I was all of a sudden. And I looked down because I was thinking to myself that, well, if I look down and I see what I'm wearing and I see who I am, I'll know who I am. I really had no clue for a second. And I looked down and there was nothing there. I didn't see my body. I couldn't for a second realize if I was male, female, a person. Everything just went blank and it scared me and I came right out of it. Because if you get scared, you automatically go back to your body. It's a survival instinct.
Wow. So you didn't know whether you was a man or woman. You didn't look
Not
down
a clue.
or
I didn't know who I was, it just, everything went blank because I was shocked. I looked down, there was nothing there. And because that was my first experience, it shocked me. So shocks you back.
So when you're out there, are there other people out there flying around?
Mm-hmm. Now, the way it works really from what I've experienced is it's not like I run into people. It's unlimited space.
Okay.
However, I have a friend of mine that is also in the psychic field.
All right.
And we've been friends since the 80s, and sometimes we'll work together. So what we'll do is we get bored.
Okay, get bored.
We play differently apparently than other people. We get bored, and we'll say, look, at midnight, you want to meet on the astral and we'll go hang out. And we'll pick a destination and we'll go meet and we'll hang out.
Okay.
But normally, it's not something that happens automatically. It's something where we pre-plan, and then you have to get in that mode at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I meant, as it is in the space realm, so it is on the Earth. What if somebody else is out there and just say, I mean, is this a plausible scenario? Maybe not you, maybe somebody else. Okay, but you're out there and you meet them, right? In the celestial plane somewhere. And then there's, say, somebody else is out there flying around who maybe kind of likes you, or on Earth, let's just say. And do they get like jealous up there, or does the feelings and those kind of earthly things are they left down here and we become a more pure person psychologically in that realm, or do we bring all that stuff with us? I mean, can there be jealousies and anger and various things up in there?
I've personally found that whatever you feel normally is going to go with you because we're still living beings. We didn't pass over and, we didn't pass on because that's a different level of elevation. But when we're going out of body, it's still whoever we are here is whoever we are on the astral plane. So you'd have the same emotions, the same feelings, the same fears, the same loving feelings or trust or non-trust, whatever you normally feel because that's you.
And you mentioned that you asked for God's protection. So when you said that earlier, does that mean then that you believe that God approves of everything that you're doing?
No. No. What I do is when I'm doing anything psychically or anything in the paranormal realm, I ask for protection to make sure that I'm safe. And then I teach psychic self-defense. So there's a whole technique to it. But on the minimal level, you just want to ask for protection from whatever your source is. Mine just happens to be God. Okay. I personally feel that God put us on this planet to learn. Everybody looks at it differently. I tend to look at it as we're doing the best that we can. We're trying to be as spiritual and positive and to help others as much as we can. Okay. But we're going to goof up because we're human and we are learning.
All right. We're going to goof up. That's for sure. So what happens to you when you die?
I find, because I deal with people that passed on, I find from what I've noticed, everybody has a different spot. They don't all go to the exact same place. So from what I've seen and what I've heard, it seems to me like if somebody's passing, they go to whatever they believe is their happy place. I didn't know what to name it, so I personally just named it their happy place. I find, as an example, there was a lady that passed on, and I was seeing, and I see this a lot, it's seeing like a fog. You know when you see the movies about the London fog, and you see the fog, there are things in the distance, but you can't quite make them out? So I tend to see it like that. And then there's a path where they come to you when you call them, or they can come and visit relatives or friends or, whatever their choice is. But they go back on and off to their happy place. I find some people, as an example, seem to be going more towards cities. Some people go more towards farming areas, whatever makes them happy. I find I saw my mother pass. She passed away a couple of years ago. And I was actually there at the moment she passed. And I had a misconception. I've been doing this all my life, and I still had a misconception. I always thought that when somebody passes away, their body stops functioning 100%, and then their spirit leaves. But I saw it in the opposite way. So it honestly surprised me, which I hate to admit.
Well, you almost kind of sound like my yoga instructor during relaxation. They always say, "Go to your happy place," and for me, that's where I go get a massage. Man, that's I'm really.
Listen, anything that works that makes you happy is a good thing.
And shedding off the clothes on that one. Listen, Maria, we're right at the top of the hour. We take a 5-minute break. Before we do, why don't you say anything about what you do, how people can get in touch with you, what services you offer? You have that moment right now before we go to our 5-minute break.
Oh, okay. I do psychic readings, business people, personal, but I do everything basically. I also do public speaking on the spiritual, psychic, and paranormal fields. If you go to put my name into Google, okay, it gives you a lot more information. I have a website that's just mariadeandrea.com, and it's mariadandrea.com. My email address is just mdandrea100@gmail. And my cell number is 631-559-1248. And for public speaking, I travel internationally.
Okay, very good. Just stay on the line. We're going to turn you down.
Program with your host.
And welcome back to the Edge Television broadcast. My name is Dube playlist as well. Let's go back to our newsmaker line and welcome back Maria DeAndrea. Maria, welcome back.
Hi, we're having so much fun on the show.
All right, I'm glad you like it. It's not as bad as maybe you thought it might have been, eh?
Well, first of all, it's wonderful, and I really appreciate being on it. I'm having a great time.
Okay, so we left the last hour talking about leaving our bodies and such. So there have been, and there is several different ways that people have described that. Again, there are episodes of that in the Bible. There is people that have the near-death experiences. There are people that, and I maybe include such as yourself, who can do it at will. Now, some people would say that that's probably a pretty scary thing to do, and they'd never do it. Besides leaving the body, is there something that's more on a terrestrial level that you would find beneficial for people to do? I mean, is there any information we can get or knowledge we can have that doesn't require us to leave our bodies?
Well, meditation is a wonderful form for that because you can get very direct information. So when you're doing meditation, there's actually two different types. There's guided meditation, which means you have somebody that knows what they're doing and they will walk you through it. And there are meditation tapes. We have a book on it, on how to get rid of stress through different forms of meditation. And that actually walks you through a scene as an example. So it'll have a starting point, it'll have scenery, and it'll tell you all different situations that you can deal with, and an end point to get you out of that stress. That's guided meditation. Then there's a different form of meditation where it's more direct, and what you're doing is you're getting answers to questions that you have. So you can actually get very direct answers, but that's through meditation. You don't have to go out of body. You don't have to do anything on that level. It's just a different contact point.
Could somebody transpose praying for meditation?
Not exactly. Prayer is different. Prayer, basically, you're asking. It's a request for help, or it's a request for something to work better. And with prayer, you're asking for something, and the answer will come where, say, you're asking for wonderful or a better job or a better relationship. The way the prayer works is you're going to get the wonderful job or the relationship. Okay. But it's not giving you an answer at that moment. When you're meditating, you're asking questions such as, to get the better job, what do I need to do? And they'll say, you'll get an answer all of a sudden where you feel like, you really need to talk to your boss more and be friendlier, or you need to talk to somebody in your company other than your boss, or you need to change jobs or fields. You'll get more of a direct answer on how to do it.
I almost felt like if I try to meditate, it's almost like I'm just trying to clear my thoughts and trying to, just get in a quiet place and say, okay, well, I got this or that thing I got to do, this task or that task. How am I going to do it? I did that this morning. I was getting ready to put in a stainless steel water heater, and I was thinking, okay, now, never put one in, but I'm pretty good because I'm a cowboy. So, you're a cowboy, you can fix things. That's what we do,
Right.
So mentally, I'm going through a checklist, and I'm going to cut the water supply. I'm going to drain the water out. I'm going to get a hose connected to it. I'm going to redecorate the walls. I'm going to bring, so I'm
Right.
going through this whole checklist. I consider that I was meditating on that. Now, I really didn't get answers from somebody saying, wait a minute, Daniel. Now what you're thinking about is out of step. I mean, I didn't get nothing. So it was, am I not meditating right or what?
That's just a different form. It's more of a form of relaxation, which works. It just means it's going to help you get centered and make your thoughts clearer so you can go, okay, I'm going to do this step next. Maybe I'll do that one next. Maybe this one won't work. It'll give you more clarity, though, because you're relaxed.
Mm-hmm. But is that meditating, or is thinking meditating, or is this?
Well, actually, if you do it in the way you just said, it's a form. There are many forms of meditation. As an example, if you do Tai Chi, when we do martial arts, if you're doing Tai Chi or Qigong, which just deals with very strong energy and being able to work with it. When you're doing that, they consider Tai Chi walking meditation. Or when you look at, as an example, how can I put it? Okay, when you look at England and you're seeing these wonderful gardens and you have all the mazes, right, that you have to walk through to get to the center, that's considered a walking meditation because you're relaxed. And as you're walking through, unless you're going, oh my God, I don't know where I am, how do I get out? Outside of that, it's a walking meditation. It's serene and it's putting you in a calm state.
Well, I was telling you always think more clearly when you're in a calm state.
Oh, definitely.
And I always say make decisions when you don't have to. Right?
Oh, definitely. I think you're much clearer.
Okay.
As you said, I feel that you make better decisions.
Okay.
I find I have a book out on meditation called How to Eliminate Stress and Anxiety Through the Occult. And occult just means ancient wisdom, hidden knowledge. It isn't positive or negative. It's not religion. It just means ancient wisdom. But, with TV nowadays, it has a different connotation, and they're thinking dead pigeon.
Well, I don't know that, using the word ancient wisdom, I don't really see that as a negative connotation. I know some do.
Not the ancient wisdom part, more the word occult.
Yeah. Well, occult.
They look at it like that.
Yeah, occult too. But but there also is a kind of a code behind ancient wisdom. People think, that's maybe just occult for that matter. Tying the two together. But there are a lot of good things that come from people that had tried to experience this thousands of years ago. Nowadays, life and living is so clouded and jaded and twisted and confused. Masses of the populations are just in total confusion. They're in chaos. It seems like, as you look specifically around this country, that people are fighting and they're hating and they're name calling. And I think I discussed this in an earlier broadcast, how that the word Nazi now, the Nazis should be proud because their name gets tossed about almost every political conversation. If you're against a certain pipeline, you're a Nazi, and if you're for it, you're a Nazi, and it's just like the Nazis should be proud that their name carries on even here today, and they're supposedly far gone, although some would question that, But the amount of vitriol out there is it's getting worse. So people maybe they should go back to an anchor of ancient wisdom of that the confusion. They're not going to benefit from a life of chaos.
Exactly.
Or of a life of fear or anything else. They need to have a life of, the Bible says that fear has torment, and you can see why. And so many people, their lives are tormented because they simply allow fear. But maybe people should seek some of the ancient wisdoms. Now, is there?
I think so.
All right. So now, when you get to the word occult, key on that word, what does that mean? What does that word mean to you?
Okay, with ancient wisdom, what that means is that they understood nature And they worked with nature to create things as an example, to bring things into their life. It's like manifesting. And because they were aware of it and they found different processes, different formulas to create the situation, they would pass that knowledge down to us. So we're still using a lot of the old systems. And then, of course, we're coming up with new ones at the same time. But we're still focused a lot on, okay, if that method worked for centuries, might work for us now. And it really does.
All right, we have this question from the live chat again, where it looks like most of our questions come in tonight. It says, when you do self-hypnosis, is an out-of-body experience the same way as doing it with meditation?
No. Okay. If you're doing self-hypnosis, as an example, what you're doing is you're reprogramming your subconscious mind. Okay. But you're reprogramming it hopefully for something positive, like you want to quit smoking, you want to have more self-assurance, you want to be happier. We all want to be happier. So you're literally reprogramming. If you're trying to go out of body with self-hypnosis, it doesn't work the same way because you're not relaxed in the same form to go out of body. And I'm a hypnotherapist.
Okay.
So I do, like I said, I do everything except astrology. And it's literally a different form. When you're doing it through meditation, where you do meditation first, and then the next step is going out of body, then you're very, very relaxed, and you're naturally going into the next phase, where with hypnosis, it's more forced. Forced isn't quite the right word, but I just really couldn't think of another synonym.
So as a hypnotherapist, have you ever helped somebody quit smoking?
Yes.
Have you ever knowingly helped a Christian smoker quit smoking?
Yes.
Okay. So from that standpoint, then if somebody would say smoke or hypnotherapy is of the devil, but if a Christian, how could they use that descriptor if a Christian can actually get help by it? I mean, again, that goes back to in the first hour when I said there seems to be innate abilities that we have,
right,
that maybe have over the eons of time we've lost because of the culture and pressures and evolution, or who knows what. But I'm thinking if we go back, we may have found that we were endowed with certain abilities, and the controllers of the universe wanted to stamp those out so they could stay in control. And maybe that's why we don't have them so many times. But if they were there, or if they exist, I mean, would one say, well, God gave you the ability for clairvoyance, but he doesn't want you to use it? That doesn't sound right.
No, I agree with you. It really doesn't. However, I find with hypnosis, with hypnotherapy, this is the way it really works, because you have stage hypnotists, which is different. Okay. The way it really works is, if you're going to do hypnotherapy with somebody, it has to be with somebody where it is their choice, or it simply will not work. We have free will. So you'll notice with stage magicians, as an example, that do hypnosis, they will always ask for volunteer. You notice that one? Yeah, they never pick somebody out of the crowd.
Yeah, they volunteer.
Right, because if somebody volunteers, it means they're open to doing things. They're more extroverted. They're more open to say, being on stage and saying, "Oh, this person's going to say, I see something." Oh, yeah, I see it, because they're open to it. If they pick somebody in the crowd that doesn't want to go up, and their friends are going, "Oh, you should go up on stage," they can't be hypnotized because they do not want to be. You will never do something in hypnosis that goes against your belief system or goes against your free will. Never. If somebody tells you, as an example, to do something negative and you're a positive person, you'll immediately come out of hypnosis. That's why if somebody says to me, as an example, that they'd like to quit smoking, the first thing I say to them is, why? If they want to quit smoking because their wife, husband, family said they have to stop, I don't even bother. It will never happen. They didn't say they want to stop.
Well, that kind of goes back to in the first hour when we were discussing permissions or rules, and I was asking, frankly, who made the rules or the laws, and one of those is that everything seems to be permission based, and that is to say, if you have negative things happening in your life, you might want to look to see that you have given permission in some way for negative things to happen. And then, of course, I've had people on the program that say that, well, things are permission based. It's the law of that God obviously put into place because, as you say, free will. But if you've given permission, then you can also stop that permission, to withdraw your permission, and that's some of the power prayers that people say they pray is that they go through it like a checklist. Everything that you may have given permission to do in your life, you just reverse that. Whether it be a spell that's been put on you, or generational curses been put on you, or things that you've allowed that you can just reverse it. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that sounds right. Mm-hmm. Because we really do have free will, so we can make the changes consciously. Mm-hmm. I find what I try to tell some of my students is, if you look back at your life, say, within a year or so, random number, okay, try to look to see if you have any patterns, positive or negative. If they're positive, you want to keep doing that. If they're negative, you want to look at it as, okay, if it's negative for me, what am I doing that I keep repeating it? What do I need to learn from it? And then what do I need to do to change it so I don't keep staying in that same cycle?
Mm-hmm. Right. And I do that kind of personally in that what I say to people and what I think. I try to, and you mentioned about approaching somebody in the last hour, that you have these thoughts, I immediately and more and more focused on not allowing a negative thought toward the person that I see, not make instantaneous judgments. I'm more and more cognizant of that now. I don't want to allow any thoughts in like that and particular negative judgments either. And then I also found that I have less guilt, because one way or another, if you do that, specific to people, that at some point you're going to have some guilty feelings. I should have said this. I shouldn't have leveled that insult. I shouldn't have had those thoughts. And they're dirty and they're nasty. You wish you never had them. But I think over time I find that I'm more intent. My intentions are, I'm more aware of it, and so I can stop them, so I don't have to go back. All right, here's a question for you. This gets a little spacey. It says, Maria, there's a lot of talk lately about archons controlling everything on Earth. Have you ever heard of archons?
First of all, I don't feel that we're being controlled on Earth like that. Mm-hmm. I know what you mean, though, but society always has some form or some source that they feel is controlling us. Mm-hmm. I don't really feel that, because, again, we have free will. Now, you do have some situations where there is a level of an entity or a group or even scientists, unfortunately, trying to control society. Mm-hmm. Okay. And we've all heard of that. However, we do have free will. So it's limited what they can do. Especially it's limited when you're looking at group consciousness as opposed to an individual. Mm-hmm. So even if, as an example, the government or the military or an alien being, if anybody's on any level is trying to control, it's always going to be limited because we have free will.
Mm-hmm. But now, if somebody uses drugs, aren't they given permission for some entity to come in and control them?
Definitely.
Mm-hmm. Now, have you used a peyote or any other type of thing to enhance?
Me, no.
Okay.
No, because I find psychically, when I work, it's like being high. So if I was using a drug, it would probably bring me down. Mm-hmm. And this is the way we really look at it. Because like I said, I have friends that are scientists and we work in the scientific community also. And our brainwave, when we're talking normally like now, our brainwave has actually been tested on a beta brainwave. When we're working psychically, scientists have actually checked it on a different frequency. So our brainwave is on alpha or theta brainwave. So they can actually see the shift with us. And that shift, by the way, would be with anybody, because we all have intuitive insights at some point or another. But we just do it more consciously. Mm-hmm. So really, it's like being high. We just try not to say it like that.
All right.
You can't have a friend come over and go, "Hey, are you high?" Because somewhere there's going to be a drug bust.
Yeah, right. I've been asking when I do this show, say, "Are you high?" All right.
Yeah, right.
So here's a question. It says, what exercises can somebody do to increase their supernatural abilities?
Okay. Well, one of the things is that you really have to look at, first of all, any particular ability that you want to, increase. So parapsychology is different than psychic. They're two completely different fields. Some of us just do both. Mm-hmm. So as an example, well, this is the difference, first of all. If you're working psychically, okay, what you're doing is you're getting yourself out of the way, your personality, your opinions, your ideas, you're getting yourself out of the way for the information to flow through you to whoever you're doing a reading for. Okay? None of that is you. The best thing you can say about yourself, if you're the best psychic on the planet, is you're okay as a tool. Big deal. Right? Because it's not your information. On the metaphysical level, the paranormal, it's the opposite. It means you understand the laws of nature to work with them and to create situations that are positive, or like I was saying before, to get rid of negative situations. So some of the steps that we can do as an example is, first of all, you always want to relax and do protection first, because when you're stressed, you can't create.
I see. I know that.
Right, you really can't. So what you want to do is do a couple of things. So as an example, some people look at it as a focus. You know, when you hear about how people focus on a candle flame as an example for meditation purposes, right? Okay, doesn't work. This is why. If you shortcut.
Okay.
If you're focused on a candle flame, what you're actually learning is concentration before you go into meditation. You need to be able to have very strong concentration to create things. You have to have a strong focus. You know that it's been tested that to create something in your life, you need to be able to focus very directly on one situation or whatever your intent is for 17 seconds only to make something happen. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but if you really look at trying to focus for 17 seconds, your mind wanders. So the first thing you want to do is find a focus point. Now, it doesn't have to be a candle flame. It could be a picture. It could be a spot on the wall. Doesn't matter what it is, as long as it holds your focus. Once you can focus on something for, like I said, 17 seconds or longer, okay, you're starting to create, to manifest, because the universe is electrical and magnetic. So what you're doing is you're working with the magnetic fields of the planet and the electricity so that you're creating, but it takes at least 17 seconds.
Liz, you sound like my yoga instructor who says every time we do we do a balance called the tree, right? And he always says,
oh, I know that one. That's a good one.
Yeah, he always says focus on a spot on the floor. And when people do that, you know, they stop shaking and they're able to hold that balance pose.
Right. We do that in martial arts too. We look at the balance in things.
Do you do martial arts yourself?
I do Tai Chi and Qigong.
Wow. So you can kick the cowboy's butt if you want to?
It's a good thing we like everybody and we're positive, right?
Well, yeah, you've got to remain positive on there. You never do that, see. Okay. Here's a question, a kind of a teachable thing. I don't know. It says, Maria, can you be our guide and walk us through a short guided meditation?
Okay, let me think of something really, really short. Okay. Well, usually you have some type of a purpose. Okay. So let's do a really quick, easy one.
A little quickie.
Okay. We're going to do one. Well, it's harder to do a quick one. That's why I said it like that.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So that just gives you a very short base of what it's really like, because it takes a little bit more time to get heavier into it. So the first thing I suggest to people is you close your eyes. And the reason I say that is because when your eyes are open, it takes your mind off what you're meditating on, because you're looking at objects. You can't help it. You know, it's human nature. So I always tell people to close your eyes first, to take 3 very slow, deep breaths. And the reason is, when you're taking slow breaths, and you can take more, when you're taking slow breaths, what that does is it relaxes your physical muscles. It's very hard to be stressed when your muscles are relaxed. So you want to think of a door in front of you. It doesn't matter what size, but you want to be aware of what it looks like, what color it is, what it's made of, what type of material. Does it have a doorknob, a place for a key, a knocker? Be aware of what it actually has, what it's made of, and what color. Before you open the door, you want to be conscious that what it does is leads you into a new realm, and the realm is going to have a gigantic tree in it. And you're going to walk towards that. So you open the door, and very calmly you look around and you look at the scenery. Be aware, what do you see? Do you see a desert? Do you see grass? Look at the scenery around you. You're going to see a gigantic tree a few steps in front of you. You want to walk towards that. As you're walking towards that, look down and see what type of path you're walking on. Is it cement, a dirt road? What type of path is it? Focus on getting to the tree. As you're walking towards the tree, you're going to notice that there's a door inside the tree. If you open the door when you get to the base of the tree, it's going to have stairs. So you open the door, you just got to the tree, you look at the stairs. Now, to the right of the stairs, you see a slide. So you have to pick which is the best way for you to get to the bottom quicker or easier or just more comfortably, the stairs or the slide. So you pick one and allow yourself to get to the bottom. When you get to the bottom, you're going to see a small lake. At the edge of the lake, you see a gigantic treasure box. You're going to go over to the treasure box, you open it, and inside the treasure box, there's gold and there's jewelry and there's diamonds and there's all sorts of wonderful, wonderful things. In the middle of that, there's a piece of paper. You're going to pick up the paper and you're going to look at what information does this hold for you. When you look at the paper, it's going to have a saying on it. It's going to say something to the effect of, you are doing well, your health is getting better. It's going to say something specifically to you. So you're going to reach in and pick up the paper and look at it and pay attention to what are the first words that come to you. Okay?
Okay, yeah.
You put the paper back in the box, knowing that you can come back here at any time to the treasure box for new information. You close the lid, you take the stairs to go back up to where you started at the base of the tree. You retrace your steps on the walk, be aware of what it's made of again, what color it is, your environment, and you're going to go back to your doorway. When you get to the doorway, before you open the door, you realize that as soon as you pass through the doorway, you have an avenue to come back here anytime you want for more information. And when you pass through the doorway, you're going to be able to come back to your normal state a little bit quicker. Oh. So you open the door, okay. You come through it, you count from 3 to 1, and on 1 you're back to your normal level. So you would count 3, and you take a deep breath. 2, you're getting back to your normal state. And 1, you're back to your normal level and you can open your eyes.
Wow. Well, I took a trip and never left the farm.
And that's the quick version.
That's the quick version. I kind of wondering about that. Wow. All right. So anybody got something out of that there? Just drop me a line there in the live chat there. Wow. That was interesting there. And speaking of, in the first hour, we were mentioning that there was 2 books we want to key on. The first one we've talked a little bit about, but the second one was a little bit of an interest too as well. Something about love and lust that you wrote there. Maria, what's going on in that book?
We all have an urge to have love in our lives.
Okay.
Now, that could be romantic love. It could be family. It could be pets. Okay. Love is love.
Okay,
love is actually the strongest universal force. However, we look at it as in a relationship as an example besides family, because in the book it tells you about family, pets, every type of love. But on the romantic level, I put in some love spells, but it's also lust, because you really need the balance. There's a way that we got here to the planet, right?
Right. Okay. That was lust.
And it's very strong force. Even though you're working with love energy, to be in a relationship, it'll give you that feeling of electricity, of chemistry. Okay? And you really need both for balance, because if you love somebody in a romantic relationship and there's no chemistry, it's not going to work long term. If you have chemistry and you don't have love, it's not going to work long term. Might work short term, but not long term. So there are all sorts of formulas that you can use to heighten those or to bring that into your life. And as an example, and I remember you talking about, different colors. And one of the things you can use, you can actually use flowers to attract situations into your life. Okay, so and flowers actually have different meaning. Okay. So if somebody gives you a flower, you want to pay attention and see what the hidden meaning is, because it's subconscious. So as an example, red obviously is romance, passion, love, courage. Okay. If you were looking at pink, it would be admiration, grace, gratitude as an example. Yellow would be friendship, happiness, new starts. Let's see, orange is more like excitement, desire. It's a sexual level rather than a
Wait a minute. What color is that now?
Family. Orange is a sexual color. It heightens your sexual levels. Really? So if you see somebody wearing a lot of orange, well, we know what they're thinking most of the time.
No wonder I get excited when I go in my orange bedroom. All right, but go
ahead.
There
you go. But it heightens those abilities in us. Different colors heighten different situations. But orange is actually a sexual color as opposed to, say, pink being universal love.
Oh, that's more like gay or something.
Well, I've got one that you're going to like.
Okay.
People don't think about this, but in ancient times, they had aphrodisiacs.
All right.
We still have aphrodisiacs. We have some really good formulas for those.
We do?
Oh, yeah. The book has a lot of them. Now, just to give you an example, there are some alcoholic drinks, some non, but some alcoholic drinks that are aphrodisiacs. People aren't aware that that's part of a formula or a love spell as an example. But basically, it's going to heighten that. As an example, there's a drink called, what's it called? Sloe Gin Fizz. Okay?
Okay.
It's made out of the sloe berries. Now, the sloe berries, SLOE, sloe berries.
Sloe berries, okay. Gotta get them. All right.
It's also called, I think, blackthorn. But it was always used in love and lust potions. So if you drink a couple of those, it makes you a little friendlier.
Really?
It does not mean that you get rid of your free will.
Yeah.
But it is definitely going to heighten that aspect. Or as an example, let's see, vermouth. Vermouth is a love potion formula, love and lust. So it's one of the ingredients because it's called, actually, vermouth, which is what it was called originally, really means essence of man. So when you really think about it, I didn't think that was too subtle.
No.
We said spiritual, not that we're not dealing with the physical. I always look at it as we're coming from a spiritual body, but we're in a physical realm. Need both, love and lust.
Hang on for a second. If kids watching the show, turn it off right now. Go back to bed. So, this is the adult part of the show here. All right. Now I'm taking notes over here, man. We got sloe berries. Got to get that. And vermouth. Seems to me, I remember my parents drinking vermouth or somebody. I can't remember who it was. Is that like a gin or something?
I'm not sure what you would look at it as because again, I don't really drink much.
What would happen if you put some sloe berries in a vermouth in an orange bedroom?
Dynamite, fire energy.
I mean,
when you think about how much you can combine, really.
Well, I see that.
It's not controlling in a negative way because even though it heightens passion and it heightens that aspect, nobody's going to do something that's not their free will.
Oh, so you wouldn't need to get male vitality from Alex Jones Network. You just simply get some of these natural things. Sounds like to me. But now,
we actually have some natural formulas that are better than Viagra in the book.
Okay, so it's in the, so really when you're looking at this book, and I have the cover right beside me here, The Sexy Medium, I suppose that's you, right?
Wasn't that I write the book. I did not make up the title.
Okay, all right, you get a pass. Somebody wanted to, and look, I admit I put that in my Facebook because I knew it was gonna trigger some people. And this the whole thing is about advertising. It's like Donald Trump telling telling somebody he's going to throw them out of the country. You know, I mean, it's a shocker. You know, and it's you get their attention. So I put that out there. But when you're saying love and lust spells, you're right here. You just talk about things that are out there. Natural stuff. So it's not really, it could be said in spells, but it's really remedies of such.
There are spells that are a lot more complicated, but you know, it takes a while.
What if you had orange Skittles?
Well, I don't know. Chocolate will do it.
now I've always heard that chocolate is
your abilities.
Isn't chocolate an aphrodisiac?
It is.
I tell you what,
actually is.
I tell you what, when I get I buy a Starbucks bags of coffee and I put it in my grinder, right? Mm-hmm. But man, I tell you what, man, you open that bag, it's like wow. That's I don't know what you know.
Well, that's like gemstones. Also, gemstones have a vibrational level.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't have to believe in it. Herbs, gemstones, oils, you don't have to believe in them. Mm-hmm. Okay, their vibrational level is there anyway. So, as an example, if you use jasper, the gemstone,
right,
if you use jasper, it helps you with any type of relationship. That could be family, relationship, a romantic relationship, anything. Mm-hmm. If you use, let's see, carnelian, which is like a yellowish stone, that brings out sexuality, but it also brings out motivation, trust, success. So stones are really multi-purpose.
Now, it is a fact for those who say they don't work, but they do work. I mean, the first radio I ever made was a quartz radio, and I was fascinated. Well, there's no battery here, but that little quartz was vibrating and causing, I guess, the power up the radio. So, and I've never have found where somebody can tell me what's in gemstones, particularly. So I know that quartz vibrates, and so I'd imagine there are others too, maybe levels that we can't perceive on a natural level. But what is it in those stones that are doing the vibrating?
Well, you have natural properties that we use. So with the natural properties, each stone has a different vibration. They all vibrate, but each type of stone has a different frequency level, like you were just saying.
Yeah.
They're literally frequency levels, and scientifically they can be tested. So as an example, bloodstone. It's actually called bloodstone. It's like a greenish stone. Mm-hmm. And you can use it for luck as an example or victory. However, on the other side of that, if you have a cut and you're bleeding, now I'm not saying something extreme. If you have a little cut and you don't have a Band-Aid,
right.
the blood, and you put the bloodstone on it, of course, you know, you wash it off, clean bloodstone. If you put the bloodstone on a cut, it will actually stop bleeding.
Really?
So it's a vibrational frequency. Mm-hmm. They don't all have the same one. That's why we can look at different stones and say they have different attractions.
Mm-hmm. All right. So if you from a guy's perspective, of course, going to a lady, if I was to have an interest in a certain lady, and I'd want her to have interest in me, what stone, say like a necklace or whatever, what would I give her?
One of the good ones for that is called fire agate. Mm-hmm. Okay, because it's not only romantic and passionate, it gives the person an urge to take action on it. Now that doesn't necessarily mean sexual. It could be, you know, huggy, loving, whatever. That could lead to.
Okay. So we're not counting out the other. This here's like a starter.
No, we're not counting it out.
It's like, okay, we don't, because I wouldn't want to get that at all. So this would be like a starter.
There you go.
Well, like a fire starter.
Fire, right?
Okay. But what about, and I see in the live chat, somebody saying, of course, the euphemism that diamonds are a girl's best friends. Do diamonds get women excited, or is it not the exciting kind of thing that a man wants?
No, that's more propaganda. Mm-hmm. Okay. Of course, what woman is going to say, diamond, no thank you, right?
Right.
But that's not the property of a diamond. A diamond gives you more stability, longevity. So a diamond is good as an example. If you're in a relationship and you give somebody a diamond, and it doesn't have to be a ring.
Okay.
If you give somebody a diamond, it's promoting a long-term situation. That's why they use it so much in wedding rings. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now, the other part is that, you know, you can use scent. People don't think about that. Mm-hmm. That's part of an attraction. Right. And this is where people make a mistake when they're not looking at it from the paranormal level, the metaphysical level.
Right.
Okay? So women, as an example, if they're wearing a perfume to attract a man, they really need to wear something sweet or like flowery, along that line, because men are going to relate to that scent more. Okay. And a lot of times it's the opposite. So for women to be attracted to men, it has to be more earthy scents or musk, along that line. Now, what happens is, an example, women will go out and they'll say, oh, I love the scent of roses.
Okay.
And they're going to buy that perfume. Great, because it's a flowery scent. But a lot of women will say, I love the scent of musk. I'm going to wear that. It's going to do nothing.
Okay, get that out of here. Don't need that one.
Right, So what you want to do is wear something that attracts the opposite sex, not you.
Well, I see. Okay, so,
that works.
but it is true. I mean, that women, they wear things to attract men, and then
Of course.
now I don't know that men really wear things to attract women, though. I mean, in general, there may be
Well, if
some.
you think of cologne
There is cologne
or aftershave,
Is that enough to do it?
sure. It's the scent. It
Okay.
doesn't matter if it's cologne or aftershave or whatever. It's the scent. And it doesn't have to be a lot. It just has to be there.
Okay. All right. All right. So but now in the on the spell part of it, now you're saying that you are saying that there's a literal spell.
Oh,
But doesn't that negate a free will?
No, because the way we work it is we only do positive. And I know I repeat that a lot, but I don't want anybody thinking, oh, I can do something negative. No, you can't. So, say you wanted a positive relationship. Okay, you can do a spell to focus on the qualities you want in a person, but not a specific person. If you wanted to work on somebody specific, say you met somebody and you're really interested in them and you want to go out with them, but you need to pull them in a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. The positive way to do that is you're focused on what you want in a relationship and you want this or better. You're not forcing that one person because that's negative.
Okay.
Okay. So if we're doing this or better, the person might come in if they have all those qualities, and we always add if it's positive for both. Because you may want that, but maybe it's not good for the other person. Okay. So we always put in those little things to make sure that it's good for everybody. What it does is it brings the person in to make the contact. It doesn't make them stay. Because that once they make the contact, then they decide, do they want to bother with you or not?
Well, isn't that what eHarmony does? That's not a that's not a spell. That's just a list, a checklist. You got your list and they got theirs.
Because it's not just a list. A lot of times you have to look at it as you may not know what you want. Okay, you don't know if you want somebody coming in as a positive friend. It's not always romantic. It could be, love is love. So it could be a romantic relationship is why we have love and lust. Okay. But it could be that you love a pet and you want to make sure it doesn't get hurt and it stays in the house more because it's safer. So there's a lot of different avenues with love.
Well, Maria, what is love?
Well, I look at that as, and first of all, everybody's concept of it is different. But I look at love as it's a very strong emotion, and it is considered the strongest universal energy of love. So on a universal level, it means that you're doing the best you can. You try to consider others. You're constantly sending love energy. You're not looking at negative situations. You're not trying to cause negative. And when you really love somebody, and that could be a pet, a person, whatever, when you really love somebody, it's unselfish. You're looking at what is best for that person first.
If there is a such thing as true love, is it never go away?
I would think it doesn't. It doesn't mean that the person is there forever because it has to work both ways. But if you really feel like that about somebody, it may tone down. I've never seen it leave.
Tone down.
Mm.
Okay. So now, have you applied these principles to yourself?
Of course.
And how's that work? How's it working for you? Pretty happy, are you?
Yes, I am.
Or satisfied? I don't know which. That'd be a better term, I guess. But no, so things are going well for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yep.
good. So really,
And I find sometimes when you're working on, just naturally, or when you're really focused. Remember, I said the 17-second thing. If you're really focused, as an example, on you want the right relationship for both of you to come in, it can be as simple as that. If you really focused on that, it'll come. But you want to say the right relationship because you want it right for both of you. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when you make a list, you leave things out. You put things in that really don't matter.
Now, is it that people get in bad relationships because they don't ask? They just accept whatever there is? No,
well, okay, it depends on the situation. If you have somebody, as an example, that grew up in a negative household where, say, the parents, one of them was, say, alcoholic. Okay. They might get into relationships with people that are either alcoholic or into drugs or some kind of negative pattern because even though they don't like it, mm-hmm. it's familiar. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that's one thing. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people get into relationships where it turns out not to be that good for them because they didn't know any better in the beginning. Mm-hmm. So as an example, I had a client years ago and she wanted to work on this gentleman to come into her life for marriage. They were dating. Mm-hmm. And I explained to her that that's not a good move because you're forcing it, and we look at that as negative work. Mm. And she kept saying, no, she really wants this one particular gentleman no matter what. Okay. So she went to somebody other than me. We don't do negative. She went to somebody other than me. Later on, she got married to the guy. Okay. And about a year to 2 years later, I forget now, a year or two later, I got a call from her because she needed help to get out of the relationship. Mm-hmm. What happened was he was a wonderful gentleman. Mm-hmm. They got married, and about, 6 months or so down the line, he turned into somebody that hits his wife.
Oh, no.
Now,
really?
Yeah. It was a really bad situation. However, what happened was he grew up in a family where his father hit his mother. That aspect of his personality was not triggered until after he was married.
Oh, that's so sad.
So.
But there's no way that she could have known that.
No, because he wasn't like that until after in fact, he didn't know he was like that.
Well, what if
it wasn't triggered until down the line?
What if she went through that checklist thing that you were saying, and saying, well, here I don't want somebody who hits women. I mean, is it
exactly.
It happened because she didn't? Well, did it happen because she never specifically requested that?
She specifically requested him only.
In any form, in any shape, in any.
Right. Because she was so sure that he was the right person. Mm-hmm. What we do normally is, like, as an example, if I was making a list for manifesting anything, job, relationship, whatever, mm-hmm. I put a couple of things at the top before I do a list. I put this or better, because I don't know, the universe knows better than me. Okay. I always put this or better. I always put in a perfect way, because I want it perfect for everybody.
Okay.
Right.
And
I always put through divine power. Now you can put through God, through the universe, whatever your term for it is. And the reason I put that is to make sure that it's positive for everybody. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have free will. So say somebody came in for a relationship and it's not quite what you wanted, but you're working on this or better. Okay? You can say, nope, that's not the right person. I'm going to keep working on it, because you still need the chemistry.
Mm. And what is chemistry?
Well, I feel that it's really, on a scientific level, everybody has different energy vibrations. Everybody has some type of chemistry or scent or qualities, and that attracts somebody else that's right for them. Mm-hmm. But it is a physical attraction. It's not just romantic. Love is different. Love can be, like I said, universal love for everybody. It could be romantic. But in a long-term relationship that's positive, you actually need both. In a romantic relationship. Family relationships, you still need something positive. And there are things that you can do so that if there are a lot of arguments, as an example, in one room all the time, mm-hmm. you need to change the vibration of that room so that when you walk into the room, it doesn't trigger an argument. Because we've all had, you ever go to like somebody's house or a store or somewhere, and as soon as you walk in, you just feel uncomfortable, or you feel really comfortable and happy.
Okay.
It's, it's being triggered.
I'll tell you what, there's a lot of people have been triggered with Donald Trump's election. I know that, but it triggered in a bad way. Well, listen, Maria, we're coming to the end of the broadcast, and so I want to give you time to talk about your website, your books, or any way that people can get a hold of you. You go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. First of all, with my website, it's mariadeandrea.com. That's mariadeandrea.com. And I suggest to people that if they put my name into Google, it'll pop up with a lot of different things I do. I'm on YouTube. I'm on different radio shows. I have a show on Blog Talk Radio called Hidden Mysteries once a month with a co-host named Mimi. Okay. So if you look at Amazon Kindle Nook, Inner Light Publications with Timothy Beckley, I have 20 some odd books out. And I do a lot of readings. So I do readings and I do public speaking. Mm-hmm. People can find me pretty much anywhere.
Okay. Well, yeah, it sounds like you're all over the internet.
Well, it's too many years of doing this. I've been doing this forever. And if somebody wants to get in touch with me, my email address is just mdandrea100@gmail.com.
Okay. All right. Well, Maria, I appreciate you coming on the broadcast. Did you have fun tonight?
Oh, I had a great time. Thank you so much for having me.
Now, I know you've been on a lot of shows. How did this compare to others that you've been?
Oh, it's great. Well, first of all, I love that you have all these different things that we can talk about. And you ask wonderful questions.
Okay.
Plus, I have to tell you, I love your sense of humor.
Okay. And I like you being so happy on the show and you're laughing. That somebody who can laugh and giggle is a happy person, and that happy person is a person who's going to spread love across the world.
I try.
All right, Maria, I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank
you. All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, everybody, that was Maria D'Andrea talking about, with the last hour we were talking about love. And so if you missed that, you might want to replay the broadcast here just directly after the show. It will begin to replay in our main player here, and you'll be able to watch the show in its entirety. Eventually, we'll take the high-definition extract video, and we'll put it up in our main player. And then we'll put it up in our TuneIn radio as well and podcast the program. Next week, we're going to have Steve Rosner is going to be on the program. He's going to explain to us why he believes God is good and what God has done that we should all appreciate. We'll find out what he has to say next week. 2 weeks, Margot. We're going to tell us who she's been in contact with. And in 3 weeks, David Oates is going to be with the program, and he's going to have the reversed speech that he, when I had an interview with him, he recorded it and he reverse speeched me. And so we're going to find out exactly what it is I was saying backwards. Dare I want to know? Well, I guess you just have to know. If we haven't had a guest on the program you'd like to see, just drop me a line at edgeam@yahoo.com. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and subscribe to a YouTube channel and podcast as well. Daniel Ott for The Edge. Bye-bye.